Would you leave for money today? Rain fell hard on the windshield, but Jenna Moore didn't flinch. Her hands rested still on the steering wheel. In her lap sat a white envelope. She hadn't opened it again in hours, but she knew what was inside. Caleb Foster's cold solution to his problem. Her, a cheque, $250,000, signed with a flourish, a bribe dressed as a gift. Jenna looked up at the grand house, every window glowing with warm light. A lie, a perfect lie. That was Caleb's world, clean on the outside, poison underneath. She knew it now. She had felt it in every word he said that day. It was just 2 nights ago. She had been in that same house, standing in that pristine kitchen. Jenna could still hear the quiet hum of the wine fridge, the polished floor under her shoes, and Caleb's voice, low, calm, without a shred of emotion. He had walked in like he owned everything, and maybe he did. The company, the house, even Jordan in some ways, but not her, not her heart, not her life. Take this, he said, sliding the cheque across the marble counter. Walk away from my brother. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Jenna stared at him, not touching the envelope. Why would I do that? Caleb didn't blink. You're not the right fit. You see that, don't you? You don't belong in this world. And Jordan, he's slipping. He's not who he used to be. You're holding him down. Jenna's throat was tight, but she stayed calm. You think money fixes everything, don't you? He leaned closer, his tone sharper. It fixes most things. It's clean, quiet. And if you love him, truly love him, you'll go. Let him breathe. Jenna picked up the envelope, looked him in the eye, and walked out. No words, no fight, just quiet fury. Now, sitting in her car, she opened it once more. The cheque sat perfectly folded, untouched. She stared at the amount, then closed it again. She didn't know yet what she'd do with it, but she knew one thing. She wasn't leaving like that, not on his terms. Jenna Moore, a self-made woman, raised in a working-class home, passionate, honest, loyal to a fault. She grew up watching her mother work 2 jobs just to put food on the table. Her father was long gone by the time she turned 12, and Jenna quickly learned how to stand on her own. She worked through college, juggling part-time jobs while chasing a degree in business administration. She wasn't flashy, never loud, but she was steady. Her strength didn't come from shouting, it came from showing up every day. When she met Jordan Foster, she thought she'd finally found someone who saw her heart, not just her hustle. He was sweet, gentle, a little shy. He played guitar, used to write songs, and had this soft way of looking at her, like he saw something the world had missed. They married fast, too fast maybe, but it felt right. Jordan was the baby of the Foster family, the one no one expected to run the business. He was supposed to be the artistic one, but dreams don't always survive when money gets involved. Their father's death left Caleb in charge, and he didn't waste time folding Jordan into the family empire, whether Jordan wanted it or not. Caleb Foster was the opposite of his brother, sharp, cold, always in control. He never smiled unless he needed something, and he never forgot a favor or a threat. He built Foster & Company into one of the most powerful real estate companies in New Jersey, and he wore that power like a crown. People respected him or feared him, sometimes both. From the start, Caleb didn't like Jenna. She could feel it in the way he spoke to her. Too polite, too distant, like she didn't quite belong. She didn't have the right background, the right family. She wasn't polished enough for their dinner parties. She didn't care, but Caleb did. And over time, he made it clear. Little comments, cold glances, subtle digs. Jenna tried to brush them off, but they added up. Then came the struggles, mostly quiet ones. Jenna and Jordan had been trying for a baby for 2 years. Doctors, tests, disappointment. Each month that passed chipped away at the light in Jordan's eyes. Jenna worked extra hours as a freelance consultant, took up part-time work where she could, anything to help ease the pressure. But Jordan was slipping. He stopped playing guitar. He barely spoke some nights. The man who used to write her songs now barely touched her hand. Jenna tried. She really did. She asked him to talk. He'd nod, then say nothing. She suggested therapy. He refused, said he just needed time. Then, one afternoon, he came home and said he'd quit working with Caleb. Jenna was shocked, not because he did it, but because he finally chose himself. She thought it might be a turning point, but things only got worse. The money got tighter, Jordan's mood got darker, and Caleb, he got quieter, until that dinner. It was supposed to be a small family gathering, Just Caleb, Jordan, Jenna, and Caleb's wife, Monica. The table was perfect, the wine expensive, the conversation fake. Caleb, as usual, spoke like he was on stage, throwing backhanded compliments and clever jabs. He talked about family loyalty, about making sacrifices. Then, not so subtly, he said something about how not everyone had the background to understand what legacy really meant. Jenna had had enough. I may not come from money, she said, calm but firm, but I do know what it means to work for something, and not just inherit it. There was silence. Monica froze. Jordan stared at his plate. Caleb just smiled, tight, cold. The next morning, Jenna received the envelope. No note, no explanation, just the check. And now, sitting in that car outside Caleb's perfect house, Jenna thought about everything that led to this moment. Her marriage, her struggle, her silence. Caleb thought she'd take the money and leave, because that's what people like him did. Fix problems with cash. But Jenna wasn't a problem, and she wasn't leaving. Not like this. She didn't know yet what the next step would be, but she knew one thing deep in her chest. If Caleb wanted her out of this family, he was going to have to do more than write a check. He was going to have to survive the truth. Jenna doesn't take the money, but she doesn't tell Jordan either. Instead, she quietly investigates what Caleb might be hiding. She starts by going back through old emails on Jordan's laptop, the ones he never deletes but rarely organizes. She looks for anything connected to Foster and Company, contracts, memos, reports, anything that feels off, and something does feel off. There's an email from a former accountant, short, rushed, with attachments. Jenna opens the documents and reads through them carefully, comparing numbers, dates, and approvals. She's not a finance expert, but she knows enough to see the pattern. Some of the company's money was being moved, twice, once on paper and once through a shadow account. Jenna remembers the conversation Jordan had months ago, the one where he said, "I don't want to be a part of something that hurts people." At the time, she thought he was being emotional. Now she realizes he was being honest, scared even. She prints the files, makes copies, stores them in different places. That night, she tries to act normal, but Jordan notices. He's sitting on the couch playing with the remote, not really watching the news. "You okay?" he asks. "Yeah," she lies. "Just tired." But the weight of the secret presses on her chest. A few days later, she finds another clue, a client name that pops up more than once in places it shouldn't. She traces it back to a development project Caleb had fast-tracked, one that had been stalled for months due to permit issues. Somehow, it got pushed through, quietly. She calls a former city clerk she once helped during her consulting days. The woman agrees to meet. Over coffee, the woman tells her the permits were cleared after someone made a big donation to the council president's campaign. We all knew it wasn't clean, but no one wanted to mess with Caleb. Jenna listens in silence, heart pounding. This isn't just family drama anymore. This is illegal. Later that week, when Jordan comes home late again, Jenna can't hold it in any longer. He drops his keys on the counter, rubs his face like the day chewed him up. "Jordan," she says, her voice soft but firm. "Can we talk?" He hesitates. "About what?" She walks over, holding the printed emails and documents in her hand. "Did Caleb threaten you? Is that why you left?" Jordan stares at her. For a long time, he says nothing. Then his shoulders drop, and he sits down at the kitchen table. "I didn't want you to know," he says quietly. "I thought I could protect you from all of it." "Jordan," her voice cracks. "What did he do?" Jordan looks up, eyes filled with shame. "I found out what he was doing with the books. I confronted him, told him it was wrong. He didn't yell. He didn't even deny it. He just looked at me and said, 'You walk away quietly, or I destroy you and anyone who backs you.'" Jenna can't breathe. "You should have told me." "I couldn't," Jordan says. "I feel like I don't belong anywhere, Jenna. Not in his world. And honestly, not even in yours anymore. You're strong. You always were. I'm just stuck." Jenna kneels beside him. "You are not stuck. He made you feel small. That's what he does. That's not who you are." But in that moment, she sees it clearly. Jordan isn't ready to fight Caleb. Not yet. Maybe not ever. He's too broken. And now she understands. Caleb didn't offer her money because of love. He offered it because Jordan was a threat. And she was the only one still standing beside him. The check was a muzzle. She walks out of the kitchen and into their bedroom, where she hides the documents beneath the drawer liner. Then she locks the drawer. She's not going anywhere. And she's not staying quiet. Jenna hires a quiet legal contact from her past job in corporate compliance. Her name is Sandra Liu, a smart, discreet attorney who doesn't ask unnecessary questions. Over late-night calls and quiet meetups in coffee shops far from town, Jenna starts building a case against Caleb. Sandra reads through the financial documents, confirms the irregularities, and begins pulling public filings, records, and permits. "This isn't just fraud," she says one evening. "It's wire fraud, money laundering, maybe even bribery. If we do this, Jenna, there's no going back." "I know," Jenna replies, eyes steady. "He's protected because no one ever stands up to him. That ends with me." But Jenna keeps Jordan in the dark. He's barely keeping himself afloat. He hasn't written music in months. He rarely eats. And when he sleeps, he twitches, like even his dreams are tense. She sees the cracks forming, and she knows if she tells him now, it might break him completely. So, she moves in silence. She pretends things are fine. She still makes him coffee in the morning, still asks about his day. But under that calm, she's collecting evidence, connecting dots, digging through records, hiding USB drives beneath her clothes. Then one evening, Caleb shows up. He waits outside Jenna's car after she gets off work, leans on the hood like he owns it. No suit this time, just a coat and eyes that could slice through glass. "You really don't know when to quit," he says as she walks past him. Jenna doesn't stop. "I'm not afraid of you." Caleb grabs her arm, not hard but enough. She yanks it back. "You think I won't ruin him?" he hisses. "I'll make Jordan look like a traitor, a weak little brother who turned on his own blood. He'll never get a job again, not even at a grocery store." Jenna steps closer, close enough to smell the expensive cologne he hides behind. "You already ruined him, Caleb. I'm just here to make sure the world sees what you really are." That night, shaken but undeterred, Jenna goes home and hides the new documents in the bottom of the laundry basket under the guest bed. She's tired. She hasn't slept properly in days, but she refuses to quit. Then Jordan finds the check. He had been looking for the spare car key when he found the envelope, tucked between books on the shelf in Jenna's side of the closet. He opens it, stares at the number. His face goes pale. When Jenna walks in later, she knows immediately something is wrong. "You took the money?" His voice is low, sharp. "No," she says quickly. "I didn't cash it. But you kept it. You kept it like a backup plan. Like if things got too hard, you'd leave. That's not what this is." "Really? Because to me, it looks like you've always looked down on my family, like you were just waiting for the right number to walk away." Jenna feels her heart tear in two. "Number. I've always tried to protect you. I've watched you get smaller every day in his shadow. I didn't take the check. I kept it as proof. Caleb's trying to bury you, and I'm the only one who's been fighting back." Jordan doesn't respond. He walks out that night with nothing but his jacket and car keys. They don't speak for a week, and in that week, Jenna learns she's pregnant. She stares at the test in the dim bathroom light, hand over her mouth. She doesn't cry. Not yet. There's no room for joy, not with everything else on fire. But the thought of a child, their child, fills her with something new. Not fear, not yet hope, purpose. She's no longer just trying to take down Caleb. She's fighting for her baby's future, for a family not built on silence and power games, but on truth, on safety. She goes back to Sandra. They revise the strategy, plan the timeline. They'll present the evidence to the authorities within weeks. Sandra warns her, "Once we file, Caleb will come at you hard. Press, lawyers, maybe even private investigators. You ready for that?" Jenna takes a long breath. "He's spent years tearing people down quietly. Let him come loud. I'm not hiding anymore." And as the sun sets over the quiet New Jersey suburb, Jenna Moore stands alone in her driveway, her arms wrapped around her stomach, heart broken, body tired, but spirit stronger than it's ever been. Jenna leaks the financial documents anonymously to a journalist named Maya Trent, a woman who once had everything, a rising career, TV deals in the works, and her name on the lips of every political podcast on the East Coast. That is, until Caleb Foster buried her with a lawsuit and private photos that mysteriously surfaced. He destroyed her credibility, cost her everything, and sent a clear message to anyone else who thought about crossing him. Maya doesn't reply at first, but 4 days later, the story breaks. Foster and Company, implicated in financial misconduct and bribery scheme. Anonymous whistleblower sends documents. It spreads fast. Local papers, then national blogs, then a 7-minute piece on a popular streaming news channel. The coverage is relentless. The public eats it up. The perfect empire, built on threats, stolen permits, and silence. Caleb is called in for questioning by federal agents. His lawyers release a cold, polished statement. But Caleb goes silent. That's when everyone knows it's real. Jordan finds out like everyone else, on his phone. He reads the article 3 times before setting the phone down. For a long moment, he just sits at the edge of the bed, face in his hands. Then he drives. He doesn't call ahead, doesn't text, just goes back to the family estate, back to the house where everything began, where he and Caleb used to sneak cookies from the kitchen and jump off the balcony into the pool before their father got home. Now, that house feels like a museum of grief. Caleb is in the study when Jordan walks in, stiff-backed, jaw set. Caleb looks up, more annoyed than surprised. "You should be careful with your name right now," Caleb says flatly. "The press loves a disgraced brother angle." Jordan doesn't sit, doesn't blink. "All this time," he says, voice low, "you blamed Jenna. Said she was the reason I changed. Said she weakened me. But you weren't protecting me. You were afraid." Caleb scoffs. "I built this family. I built our name. You controlled it. And you broke every single person who tried to grow outside of you." Caleb's eyes harden. "I saved you from your pathetic little dreams. You wanted to be a musician, Jordan. You think that pays the bills?" Jordan steps closer. "She didn't ruin me. You did. She tried to save me from disappearing into your shadow. You just didn't like that she saw you for what you really are." There's a long silence. Then Jordan says it quietly but with finality. "You don't own me anymore. You never really did." And he walks out, not just from the house, but from the legacy, from the shame, from the name that never fit him in the first place. Back at home, Jenna watches the media storm swirl on her TV. She's not smiling. There's no victory dance, just quiet resolve. She walks to her desk and pulls out a package. Inside, the uncashed cheque. She's had it framed behind glass, cold, still, and useless. But next to it is something more powerful. A letter, a handwritten confession from Caleb's former financial advisor. A man who used to look the other way until Jenna found him, talked to him, told him the truth. Not just about the law, but about the people hurt along the way. He cracked. He wrote the letter himself, signed it, gave Jenna permission to do what needed to be done. She sends both, the framed cheque and the letter, to the IRS tip line. No name, just a short typed note. For every dollar earned by deception, here's one returned to justice. She places the package in the Dropbox herself. As she walks away, she holds her belly gently, the first flutter of life inside her, a reminder that sometimes the only way to fight the past is to protect the future. The empire Caleb built on fear is crumbling, and Jenna, she's just getting started. On a quiet afternoon, sunlight spills through the tall gallery windows, casting soft gold across polished floors and white walls. The soft hum of conversation fills the space. Donors, advocates, survivors, hope, thick in the air like incense. Jenna stands near the far wall, where her nonprofit, Begin Again, is hosting its very first fundraiser. On the wall, centered beneath a spotlight, hangs a frame. Inside it, the check, $250,000, crisp, untouched. Beneath the glass, on a small brass plate, the inscription reads, "When a woman's silence is bought, generations are sold." But not this time. People pass it. Some pause, read slowly, thoughtful. Others just glance. But no one walks by without feeling something. Jenna stands a few feet away, quietly. She's wearing a soft blue dress, one hand resting on her round belly, the other holding a glass of water she hasn't touched. Her eyes drift across the room, not out of pride, but presence. She sees the women laughing softly in the corner, the young girl sketching quietly near the food table, the older woman holding her granddaughter's hand. She hears Jordan's footsteps before she sees him. He comes to her side without a word, slips his hand into hers. The silence between them is easy now, peaceful. "I'm proud of you," he says. She turns to him slowly, not with disbelief, not with tension, but with a kind of quiet relief. "I'm proud of me too," she replies, voice soft but steady. For the first time in a long time, the future doesn't feel like something they have to escape from. It feels like something they get to build together. Hey besties, thanks so much for watching all the way through. Don't forget to like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more stories. Catch you soon.